Hi, Zach. Thank you for having me on. My name is Devshi. I'm the CEO and co-founder of JusticeText. I am currently based in Irvine, California, which is 15 minutes away from Disneyland. That's the closest landmark. And a little bit about me. I was born in India. I immigrated here while I was a preschooler at the age of 3. Went to school in Chicago, spent the last year in China, and now I'm back home with my family working full-time on JusticeText.
I have all of these accolades about you, actually. You were a Schwarzman scholar at China, correct?
I was.
How was that experience?
Um, it's gonna sound corny, but it was literally one of the most defining experiences of my life in many ways. It was basically a program, 1-year master's, where we were studying global affairs, global leadership with 140 other students from 40 different countries.
Wow.
The fact that I now have, friends my age from Pakistan, from Kenya, from Sierra Leone, from every, nook and cranny in the world, I think that's something that's, so powerful to me personally. I feel like I learned a lot, I grew a lot, and also I have a cool story to tell, given that we had to evacuate in the midst of COVID halfway through the program. Yeah.
Interesting. Awesome. All right. I'm not going to shout. I'm not going to keep doing this, but congrats on the most recent 30 for 30 for Forbes. That's pretty awesome as well. But you're obviously doing some great work at JusticeText. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you guys are doing?
Yeah. So with JusticeText, we are working within the criminal justice system, specifically with public defenders at the moment, and developing technology to help public defenders be able to better manage, store, catalog just the hundreds of thousands of hours of body camera footage, interrogation videos, jail calls that a lot of these agencies are grappling with at the moment. We're currently piloting our tool with a number of offices in cities like New York, Atlanta, Cincinnati, Las Vegas. And the goal really is to get to product market fit as quickly as we can and start shipping things. But I think my favorite part about working on JusticeText is just being able to talk to public defenders day in, day out. I think that's my favorite part of the job. And yeah, it's going well.
So a product geared towards public defenders now, what made you compelled to start this, or how did this come about?
Yeah. So I went to school in the city of Chicago, and I think it was the summer before my senior year. I started reading Michelle Alexander's book, The New Jim Crow. That book is also another one of those things that I would consider fundamentally, defining in terms of my own understanding of what systemic racism looks like, what structural injustice is. It's not one bad guy sitting in, some high office deciding to discriminate against people. It's very, very different from that. And it's not something that I realized growing up in Irvine, California. We are literally the safest city in this country. And so my interactions with police officers, my interactions with the criminal justice system was so fundamentally different from what I was exposed to in the city of Chicago. So I read that book, and for whatever reason, there were just a couple of pages focused on the public defense system. And I don't know what it was, but those pages stuck with me for life. And I think that the main thing was, as a young undergraduate, pretty idealistic technologist, I was thinking about what can I even do with my life to try and make an impact that feels just, that feels equitable. And there was no way that I was going to be able to legislate injustice away. And so I was thinking of what can I build? And I think what I realized was within the public defense system, there was an opportunity. Here was a system where there's very few resources, available to tackle a very big problem. And I immediately got thinking, there's got to be some technology that could just make the lives of public defenders easier. So that was the genesis of me wanting to do something. But I didn't start actually building the company until I decided one day on campus that I would just show up at my local public defender's office and start a conversation there. And so we kind of forced our way in the beginning, but that was the beginning of the company.
That's kind of pretty awesome. timing is important for a lot of early stage companies, and your product is the world ready for it. Curious, it feels like, more and more video is popping up every day. Everybody's kind of got these types of things. You mentioned body cams, you mentioned all these different things. Curious, like what you're seeing happening there with the amount of video that's being produced, and then why you feel the timing is right now for this.
Yeah. Yeah, if you look at statistics on the amount of surveillance footage that's being captured, it's just skyrocketed over the past 5 years. I think the specific statistic is 3.3 trillion hours of surveillance footage is captured every single day. And there's around 45% of police agencies in the US which use body cameras. And that trend is very much leaning towards more and more adoption. At the same time, our country has had a very real and very powerful reckoning with what the criminal justice system looks like today and how it impacts the poorest and communities of color. And, when I was making the decision, like, what do I want to do after graduating from the Schwarzman scholarship? My friends, they were applying for jobs, they were going to incredible programs, law school, business school. And I was sitting there like, what am I going to do? And the fact that, I think the moment that we're living in and kind of the resurgence of the Black Lives Matter movement played a huge role in just giving me the courage to take that leap. So yeah, I think there's many trends that were pushing me towards, starting JusticeText and working on it specifically at this time.
Yeah, and I think that the underlying theme of using software to improve society is something that your friends at business school, your friends at law school, like tech scales in ways that those things just won't scale. So kudos to you and the team for all the amazing work that you guys are doing. When you look out a couple years, like what's the future look like? And how do you guys fit into this?
Yeah, so obviously, we're building software, we're building technology. We'd love to be able to serve every single public defense agency in this country. But I do see ourselves as being more than just a technology company. I want to be part of a movement of many, many more people who are advocating for equitable pay for public defenders. I think the funding disparity between prosecutors and public defenders is so stark in some jurisdictions, and it's a huge disservice to low-income Americans. I want to be part of a movement that make sure the cool new gadgets and software and forensic labs, that so many district attorneys have, that public defenders have access to that same information. And I think at all times I'm trying to optimize for what I care about and what I have expertise in. And so, yeah, I would say that we would love to be able to scale JusticeText as much as we can, help serve as many low-income Americans as we can, but at the same time be part of broader advocacy.
I'm curious, when you think of technology being able to help lower-income Americans, we see some amazing stats. We see, I think, the average hourly rate for an attorney in this country is about $346 an hour, where a wage is somewhere along the lines of $19.14, I think. So what that tells us is like a lot of the legal system, the legal services in this country are just in general not available to lower income folks. And it's a big theme for our fund. And I'm curious your thoughts, just higher, if you take a step back. I know right now you're thinking about the public defender world, but do you think there's a lot of interesting stuff happening? And do you think that tech could be a great solution for some of these things?
Yeah. I recently took part in the Duke Law Tech Lab with 3 other incredible companies, which are all focused on the overarching theme of increasing access to justice. There's university labs, across the country and in Canada, which are focused on this issue in particular as well. From things ranging from collecting child support payments to, going to small claims court, to getting immigration support. I've been surrounded by colleagues who are trying to tackle so many of the different challenges that exist and folks getting access to quality legal defense when, as you mentioned, they might be earning minimum wage, when they might not have, a couple $1,000 to spare to get the justice that they deserve. So I think there's a huge movement, which I think has largely been underinvested in from the venture capital community to date. And so I think your fund as well is finding a niche that is critical.
And thank you for the kind words about us. Usually we ask people something along the lines of like, what gets them inspired? It seems like this work in general and just helping people gets you inspired, but curious what gets you motivated to go take on the world every day.
Yeah, it really is trying to, in many ways, my parents immigrated here and did the very best they could to provide me with the opportunities to succeed, to live out the American dream. And I don't know, the idea that I was able to grow up in an environment where my main focus was my education, my self-development, the cool speech and debate class I wanted to take, the colleges I wanted to apply for. It didn't seem extraordinary to me growing up at the time. But I realize now how extraordinary it is. And I think the criminal justice system is the area where I've grown deeply passionate because of the time that I spent in Chicago. But at its core, I think the idea of equalizing access to opportunity is very, very core and fundamental to who I am.
Awesome. What is something unexpected you learned over the last couple months as you've stood the company up, started to get some pilot customers, started to see the software out there?
Yeah. I think the extent to which I don't know who we can unnecessarily pin the blame on, but the extent to which, so I'm like navigating these very different worlds. Like, I hop on calls with investors in San Francisco doing incredible work, using all these cool little gadgets to organize their calendars, to organize their workflow, other founders who are building these incredible tools. And I just see, the wealth of innovation, excitement, and resources that are available in this part of the world. And at the same time, I hop on a call with an attorney who has a backlog of 500 cases, has clients who are currently sitting in jail, with the possibility of contracting COVID. And the resources at their disposal is software that was developed in the 1990s. Just the, I don't know, the bureaucracy and so many of the hurdles that they have to kind of work around. It's just a very stark difference. And so I think for me, just having insight into what that looks like was surprising, but also motivates me to keep doing this work.
And I guess on that note, I'm sure you've come across lots of interesting people, but who's somebody you respect or admire?
Yeah, I would say one of the peoples that I really admire is former mayor of Stockton, Michael Tubbs. I think he was the youngest mayor at the time of the election. But he had spoken to, a group of students at my university at one point, and I heard him speak again at, another event. And it was just so cool to hear from a young person who, had the opportunity to go work at full-time at Google after graduating from Stanford, but then made the decision that he was going to commit his life to public service. It was a decision that his family members probably were surprised by, that his friends certainly were surprised by, especially given that, they were probably off to incredible places in consulting and business, whatever. But the fact that he took that leap, I think it was a big point of inspiration for me as well, that I have a big safety net. And if I don't take that leap, who in the world is? So definitely him.
Oh, awesome. What's one fact about you or the team that most people don't know?
These are the questions that give me the most anxiety. My fun fact is always that, like, I'm allergic to cockroaches, but that's not very exciting. I studied Chinese.
How did you find out you were allergic to cockroaches?
It's not an exciting story at all. I think the better fun fact is I studied Chinese for 5 years, and have been to China 4 times. I deeply admire Chinese culture and I've been able to learn so much being a part of the Schwarzman Scholars Program. was like a culmination of a lot of time, a lot of time just obsessing over the China miracle.
What can people listening or watching do to kind of help you achieve your goals?
There's so many things. If I had a wish list, it would go on and on. I think first and foremost, connecting with public defenders, connecting with private criminal defense attorneys. That's my number one, focus at the moment. Connecting with more people who would be interested in using our software, working with us. Secondly, we've been working with a couple of interns this past fall, and they've been incredible. They've, been a huge asset to the team. And so I think I'm always open to work with young people who are passionate about the space. So if anyone watching would be interested, feel free to reach out to me as well.
Awesome. Well, we want to be sensitive to time because it seems like you and the team are doing some pretty awesome work, and we want to let you get back to that. But thank you for taking a few minutes. Congrats on the recent 30 under 30. And we look forward to keeping in touch with you.
Awesome. Thanks, Zach.